because we're back with another episode of Music That Matters. And tonight it is Andy's choice. And he has picked a doozy. I listened to this album 4 times today because I could not help it.
It's so good.
It's so good. Tell us the
So-
band, Andy.
the band, my friends, is called the Aristocrats, and the album is called Culture Clash from 2013, which is profoundly depressing to say. I can't believe it's been 11 years. Where is the time going, Wes? I just want to curl up in a
Wow,
ball.
that is a long time.
All right. Culture Clash by the Aristocrats. Guthrie Govan on guitar, Marco Miniman on drums, Brian Beller on bass. Um, Here's the thing about this album, this record, this band. I don't really have a lot to say. I don't. What? Who was it that said something about? I don't know. Like talking about music is. I don't know. It's hard to describe how I don't know much about this record. How I don't know much about how the Aristocrats came to be. There wasn't a lot of information I was able to find in the period of time that I was researching.
Yeah.
Um, their
Yeah.
wiki page isn't super fleshed out.
And all that you get off of the wiki page is they all love 70s fusion in Prague.
Hmm.
They got together almost accidentally to jam at Winter NAMM in 2011,
Hmm.
and the chemistry was so great. They're like, we got to record this.
Yeah. What I do know about the three musicians is that they are all deeply talented, not only in their primary instrument, but in other instruments, and especially Marco, who I believe is,
Oh,
I know, like probably a
Mark,
better guitar player than most guitar players that are out there today.
which isn't fair. He was a finalist in the race to see who was going to be Dream Theater's new drummer.
Yeah. And if you look at the video of his audition, it is clear why they didn't choose him,
Yeah, it is.
because
But
it's the Marco Miniman show.
yeah, but
Yeah. But in this act, it works. Now, Guthrie, Brian, Marco, all absolute masters in their craft. Incredible songwriters, all of them accomplished musicians, and yet the music defies defies definition, in my opinion. To call these instrumental rock albums is a disservice. You can find country, you can definitely find fusion, you can find progressive, you can find some, like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say surf, but like rockabilly on this record, the Louisville Stomp. There's rockabilly on here.
yeah,
Um,
it's definitely genre skipping, and it
mhm.
shows the depth of skill and just the seamless ability of the musicians.
Yeah, there, there's the time signatures abound, time signature changes, I should say. Um, there's you hear very little pentatonic blues scales. This is not
Right.
this is not that type of record. And yet, despite how odd sometimes these songs can be, they're all yet incredibly approachable.
Yeah, they're super accessible.
Yeah, yeah, it's really weird. It's like, imagine if Zappa was more approachable. Like, because I always thought like Zappa's music was like on the wrong side of bizarre. Like, I didn't like Zappa because I felt like it was like too esoteric for me for my listening. This is like, what if Zappa was more approachable, more accessible? But
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
the musicianship is just, but again, even with the ridiculous playing, this is still some of the most enjoyable, especially given that it's instrumental.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's not just three guys wanking on their instruments,
Mm-mm. No.
which these three guys could get there. They
Yeah.
very easily could get there.
Yeah. I do believe the one thing I thought was worth pointing out is on Louisville Stomp, which was, by the way, written by Brian Beller. So this is a rockabilly song written by the bass player, which right then and there.
Right.
Um, to get the real rockabilly sound, Guthrie chose to use a Gretsch hollow body, like a
Really
traditional rockabilly guitar.
nice. Good for
If you
him.
if you listen to this song and you hear the playing, you're like, he had to do this on not the easiest guitar in the world to do that on. And he really, I'm just, you got to applaud the guy for saying, I want to do something like authentic with this and like really muscle it out and play that's his style on this guitar. Um, so, and I believe there's one song on here, I don't remember the name, but he does a great Jeff Beck impression, Guthrie does. Um, if you listen to it, it sounds really like you're listening to a Jeff Beck song, only a little bit more modern. Um,
Right.
but this is one of those albums you have to absorb it front to back. I do feel like it tells a story almost. And if you listen to the last song, which is called And Finally, it sounds like but it I don't know how they did it, but it sounds like what the last song on an album is supposed to sound like. It's
Right.
like, hey, we're
It's
finally at
a
the end. It's a celebration of everything you just listened to.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so I don't have a favorite track because every one of them is great. The best thing about the album is everything. There's just it's you have to absorb it all. But I mean, why do I put this up there? So, you know, this album and the Aristocrats in general, to me, we're talking like 10 years ago. I'm in my life, I'm in my early to never mind. I'm older. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
And I'm not playing as much as I used to. I'm just saying. I'm not in a band. I'm not really doing a whole lot of recording. And I'm just sort of like in this weird, not sort of a rut, but like a downtime for me. And then the Aristocrats comes out. And it I remember very clearly how this album and then this album in particular, after this one, it sparked like something in me to get back into it. Um, Maybe it was partially because Guthrie's such an amazing player, and also how understated his rig is. I don't know if
Right.
you know this, but Guthrie is very like he's
Low
very
tech.
low tech, like small pedal board, one channel amp, does everything with the Vine control and his pickup selector. Like that speaks to me because that's what you and I grew up doing. And I really, something about this album really spoke to me and it made me want to get back into guitar again. And I picked it up
Yeah.
for the first time in a while. And so, yeah, like I just feel like this album mattered to me quite a bit. It didn't probably make a huge impact on music in general. I think the Aristocrats are still a very esoteric, kind of a band. They're not super duper famous, but um, I'd rather listen to this than any solo project that these guys have done. Like it's to me, this just speaks to everything about music that I enjoy. Great playing, great songs, fun. They don't take themselves too seriously. Like it's really a good time. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you enjoyed it, man. I wasn't sure how you were going to feel or if you've even listened to these before. So I was curious to get your thoughts on it.
Well, I'll tell you, I wasn't skeptical because I'm going to listen to pretty much anything you tell me I need to listen to because, I know you. But I looked them. I don't usually do this. I usually just listen to the album that you send me. This time I looked them up first
Mhm.
because, um, I'm not familiar. I'm actually not familiar at all with Guthrie Govan other than knowing his name. For example, I didn't even know he was British until today. He was just one of those kind of technically amazing people I've seen do some stuff here and there in videos.
Hmm.
Brian Beller, I knew who he was, but the main reason I listened to the album is because Marco Miniman. Marco Miniman played on an album called Spaceship One with Paul Gilbert, and it is
That's right.
probably my favorite Paul Gilbert solo albums because it's all songs. It's
Hmm.
like he sings and still plays Paul Gilbert songs. It's not
Hmm.
instrumental stuff. And it
Yep.
has what is my absolute favorite Paul Gilbert song, which is basically a pop song called Boku no Atama, which is a song sung entirely in Japanese about his head being a tomato. But that's okay because he likes strawberries. Right. And so along with this album, they did a live in studio video, a
Yes.
DVD of the songs plus a couple other ones, like they did Scarified and a couple other things.
And weren't they in like
And
spacesuits?
they were in spacesuits, and they're all having fun. All right, the bass player is a guy called Linus of Hollywood, which I think is a hysterical name. They're all having fun, but Marco Miniman is goofing off the
Yeah.
entire time and still nailing every part. And
Hmm.
he is absolutely goofing off. I'm looking at a picture of him right now playing on stage, and he's wearing a Cookie Monster t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember watching the long form documentary about Dream Theater finding their new drummer,
Hmm.
and he is just so much fun to
Hmm.
watch as a human being
Yeah.
and a drummer.
He
And so
enjoys himself.
he really does. He might be up there with Dave Grohl as one of those people who's having so much fun being a rock and roll person, you know.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say rock star because I'm not sure Marco's a rock star, but yeah. So because of Marco's participation, I was absolutely going to listen to it, and then I went back and I listened to it again, and then I listened to it two more times after lunch, like straight through when I should have been working like really hard, focused on work and practicing the surf set that I got to play in 3 weeks. Uh, so I did not get that done today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So don't send me anything tomorrow.
No. Give me your impression of what it's like to listen to Guthrie Govan play guitar on these
It
songs in general. Like, what are you thinking while you're hearing what he does?
so he reminded me of pretty much every amazing guitar player I like to listen to who usually can only do one thing at a time, one
Hmm.
kind of style or genre. And he does them all and blends them together. I'm going to go with seamlessly.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's you remember in the last episode we talked about Cutting Crew's Broadcast album, and I talked about their guitar player
Hmm.
who blended rhythm and lead lines together into one cohesive guitar part.
Hmm.
And Guthrie does the same thing, but then he goes from bluegrass to rock to metal to prog to fusion and back to bluegrass
Yeah.
all in one song.
In one solo.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
it's such a musically dense album that just listening to it once didn't let me absorb enough of it to where I'd be cohesive, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
The Probably the only thing that I didn't like about the album is the songs were all kind of long,
Okay.
you know? And that's just a me thing. That's because I've got about a 3 to 5 minute song span in my head because of the
Hmm.
music that I've been writing for 40 years. So, listening to an album full of 6 and 7 minute long songs is sometimes a struggle for me.
Yeah.
But if that's my only criticism, I think that's there you go.
I think that's a fair assessment of Guthrie's playing in that he is, um, you can hear that he's well schooled, well educated on the instrument, but not, it's not like sterile. Like he's
Right.
only an educated player. It still sounds like he's enjoying himself and he's playing from the heart and that it's not just about running scales. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but I like your assessment of Marco's playing and that it's just fun watching him, and it is. And he pulls off things on the drums that I think mere mortals would have to struggle with, and he's doing it one-handed sometimes, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, but we don't talk a lot about Brian Beller, and because it's easy to ignore the bass player. Um,
Yeah, it is.
and I didn't think much of Brian Beller when I saw him with Steve Vai because he really didn't have an opportunity to go too crazy. But I've seen
Well,
Brian
he's playing Steve Vai's songs, and
exactly.
when you play for Steve Vai, you play what he tells you to.
Yeah. But watching him on the live videos of Aristocrats, you get a real sense for his command of the instrument. And I like that he uses pedals. I like that he he does what I think a lot of great bass players can do, which is stay in the pocket when you need to, but also be a lead instrument. And he
Yeah.
does an amazing job of balancing Guthrie out and doing what he needs to do. And he wrote a lot of my favorite songs on the record. So here I'm like thinking that this is a guitar record, but really, I mean, when Marco and Brian wrote some of the best songs on the record.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this is a three-piece band, and it's truly a three-piece in every sense. It is not just like a side project. Anyway, I really like this album. Go listen to it. Tell us what you think of it in the comments. Um, and yeah, just tell us what you think of it because I love this record. I was listening to it all day today in preparation, and I was like, I wonder if I can pick a favorite song. Nope, not
I
happening. I
couldn't.
just can't. I just
I
can't.
mean, I do like Louisville Stomp a lot.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
So
what I want to hear is the live album
yeah,
from the Culture Clash tour.
do that because they jam.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
they do jam a little, and that's the other thing is they somehow keep it together. Like even though they jam and these songs have weird time signatures and they don't always do it like the record, they somehow keep it together. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's otherworldly. Very talented dudes.
Is there anything you want to add to our discussion of the Aristocrats Culture Clash album from 2000, whenever it was,
No,
13?
I think I said everything that I had to say.
Well, in that case, I want to encourage everybody to like, subscribe, ringy ding,
Do all the
comment,
things.
ask questions,
Do all the things.
participate,
Do all the things.
send us corrections if we make mistakes like Marcus did. Thank you again, Marcus. And just all in all, be excellent to each other and come join us at differentstringspodcast.com. Listen to all the episodes.
Yeah. Would you do that, please? Come on. We're begging now. Now you got us begging. I guess I'll be talking to you soon too.
Yes, you will.
All right. Peace out. All right. Now let me stop recording.